Okay, y'all, this is part three of Jones versus Combs. And first of all, I'm not going to be able to show y'all all these pages because I'm going to have to, because of the wording and I don't want to get violated, I'm going to have to tell you some things. Okay. So again, on this page right here, listen, I'm only giving y'all what is on here. But if you read the redaction of 71, it's letting you know that Mr. Combs, Diddy, said that he engaged in intercourse with a Philadelphia rapper who dated Nicki Minaj and a R&B singer who performed at the Super Bowl and had successful Vegas residency, and Stevie J. The writer is in possession of the video and will provide a copy to the court. The video that they are in possession of is Stevie J with a Caucasian male. Okay. There are further screenshots on page 14 that I cannot show you. Three screenshots are of, it looks to me just like Stevie J. One image it can, but then you really can't tell, so I can't say if it is him. And then one is redacted out totally. But this page also goes into detail about how Mr. Jones was essayed by Young Miami's cousin. Okay, so I'm going to have to read some of it because a lot of it I'm going to have to figure out how to say it. But on Thanksgiving Day 2022, Mr. Jones was in Mr. Combs' house located in Miami, Florida. Young Miami and her female cousin was present. Now, Mr. Combs was intoxicated and offered drugs to Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones rejected him and walked to the restroom. Now, while he was in the restroom, Young Miami's cousin burst into the bathroom and started touching him. And he thinks that Mr. Combs sent her in there. All right. She then dropped to her knees and began performing an act. Mr. Jones pushed her away, and I'm sorry, the act that she was performing was an act on him. And Mr. Jones pushed her away and exited the bathroom. She did not take the rejection. And again, this is Young Miami's cousin. She proceeded to follow him, and she started undressing and tried to straddle him and have sex with him in the presence of Mr. Combs and his staff. These pictures I can show y'all. So if you look here, these are the pictures of Thanksgiving 2022 of Mr. Jones with Mr. Combs, Young Miami, and her female cousin who assaulted Mr. Jones. Okay. Now, throughout his time with Mr. Combs, Mr. Jones was transported from California to New York, Florida, and the United States Virgin Island. During this time, Mr. Jones was forced to solicit SMEX workers and perform schmexual acts to the pleasure of Mr. Combs. On or about February the 4th of 2023, Mr. Combs forced Mr. Jones to bring those workers back to his home in Miami, Florida. Okay. And also, when it comes to the video of Young Miami's cousin, assaulting him, if you look at the bottom again, it says that the writer is in possession of the video. So everything he's saying, I'm saying alleged, but everything that he is saying, they mostly have witnesses, videos, pictures. On or about February the 2nd, 2023, Mr. Jones believed Mr. Combs drugged him. Mr. Jones recalls waking up naked, dizzy, and confused. He was in bed with two Schmex workers and Mr. Combs. He also recalls aimlessly wandering around the house with no clothes on. Here it says that on another occasion in Miami, Florida, on Thanksgiving night of 2022, Mr. Combs asked Mr. Jones and DeForest Taylor to enter the studio bathroom. He asked him for a $100 bill because he wanted to do drugs with them. Mr. Jones was scared, but luckily he didn't have a $100 bill, so Mr. Combs waited a little later to do the drugs with young Miami. Later that evening, he required Mr. Jones to solicit schmeck workers from Booby Trap on the river located in Miami, Florida. Mr. Jones did so, and Mr. Combs forced him to engage in unsolicited acts with these workers. Booby Trap on the river. So these are images of the club and of the workers. As part of Mr. Jones' Schmeck worker recruitment tools, Mr. Combs provided Mr. Jones with an exclusive bad boy baseball cap and required him to wear it to Booby Trap on the river as a signal to any Schmeck worker he approached that Mr. Combs was in town and had sent Mr. Jones to recruit them. Mr. Jones had no desire to visit Booby Trap on the river. Mr. Jones had no desire to solicit the workers from Booby Trap. Mr. Combs used his power and influence to intimidate and force Mr. Jones into doing so. As detailed below, Mr. Combs used many tactics to maintain dominion and control of Mr. Jones. Apparently, the workers were accustomed to servicing Mr. Combs and would know that he is in town by the sight of the bad boy's baseball cap. The following are Instagram profiles of two of the workers that Mr. Combs required Mr. Jones to solicit and have sex with at his home in Miami, Florida. Mr. Jones had no desire to solicit or have sex with the individuals. Mr. Combs used his power and influence to intimidate and force Mr. Jones into doing so. There's a picture. It's supposed to be a phone number of another worker. And basically, you guys can pause to read this page. It's pretty much saying the same thing. One of the tactics that Mr. Combs used to gain control over Mr. Jones was to promise him Grammy for Producer of the Year for the Love album. He offered him $250,000 to purchase all the instruments he wanted. He promised him ownership of his $20,000 property, One Star Island in Miami, Florida. He promised access to record label executives like defendants Lucian Charles Grange in Ethiopia. Mr. Combs would often switch up his approach. He would go from promising Mr. Jones the world to threatening Mr. Jones with physical harm. Mr. Combs threatened to eat Mr. Jones' face and informed Mr. Jones that he is willing to unalive his mother, Janice Combs, if he must, in order to get what he wants, so he wouldn't think twice to harm Mr. Jones. So Mr. Jones is alleging that Diddy said that he will harm his own mother, Janice, who he supposedly loved the world of, just to get what he wants. All right, y'all, this is going to be all for part 3 because I'm not going to get into another section of it. And so, again, these videos will be under my playlist, The Carolina Diamond, on YouTube.